Hello, folks, and welcome to the UPIKE Coaches Show for the third edition. My name is Michael Pagano, and of course, I am joined here by head coach Corey Phipps. And, Coach, we're coming off of a 59-0 win over Weber International. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the atmosphere. I know you talked about it a little bit before, but you've got a few games under your belt at home at Pikeville. What's the atmosphere been like, and what's just the overall vibe?
Yeah, I think what I keep hearing out of former players and just folks in the community that it's just electric. You know, that the crowd this year has just been really positive, really into it. It's been phenomenal to have some folks that really want when it's 3rd and 5 to stand up and rattle their feet and make some noise. And I've been really impressed with the atmosphere here. And I've got to experience it a few times when I was on that other sideline, but to actually do it now as the head coach on the home sideline has just been awesome. I encourage those folks to continue to come out, bring their kids. I think it's a great family atmosphere, and I think we do a really positive job to give the folks here in the greater Pikeville community something to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these were my first two games as well, and it was definitely an electric atmosphere. So let's get into the game. As I mentioned before, 59-0. And really, all three facets of the game were great. You had a punt return, you had 4 interceptions, you had 217 yards through the air, plenty of yards on the ground as well. What did you see out there, and what did you like?
Yeah, I thought defensively, obviously, we had a great game. Anytime you can shut anybody out, it's just rare in college football today with all the high-scoring offenses that are out there to be able to do that. I've got a chance to work with Coach Elliott at a couple stops now, and he, there's a reason he's one of the premier defense coordinators in the Mid-South Football Conference. He's pitched shutouts at I think 4 different institutions as the defensive coordinator in this league, and that's why it was pretty crucial for him to come with us to get this thing going. And just the kids really executed the game plan, and even it's awesome in the fourth quarter. You can feel that shutout coming, and the offensive kids really tried to protect the football and make sure that they kind of protected that shutout for their defensive brothers, and that's always fun to see those guys understand that it's just rare to get one of those. But offensively, I thought we played great, in terms of understanding the game plan, who we want to be. We thought Weber, obviously being from Central Florida, was going to have a ton of athletes who could really do things, and they did. But we executed our game plan at a very high level, and ran the football effectively and efficiently, and I think we were 22 of 26 through the air or something in that neighborhood. And Lee Kirkland again shows that he can win it with the deep ball, but he can also manage the game and get you first downs when you need them. Special teams, like you said, to have a punt return for a touchdown, and our coverage teams did a really good job. And a lot of the field position that helped us score and prevented them from scoring was because those special teams guys. So I thought Coach Harris and all the coaches that work on the special teams did an absolutely unbelievable job of getting their kids prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. And touch on the depth a little bit. I mean, wide receiver-wise and running back-wise, you don't have just one go-to person, especially running back. You had Alex Sanders come out a little bit earlier in the game. You had Ivan Vaughn step in. You had Adrian Madako step in. And then you even had Brandon McLeod at the very end of the game.
Absolutely.
So how nice is it to have that depth?
Absolutely. Adrian's a guy that's, really, because of different things throughout camp and kind of the ebb and flow of pandemic football, we've tried to get a lot of guys reps to be valuable and ready and understand the system. And I think, when you see 4 or 5 running backs rush for 200-plus yards in 2 ball games, it's really exciting to see that, because you don't have to worry if somebody goes down. Are we just inept? Is it done? Is it over in the running game? Do we have to turn it all over to the quarterback and receivers? And we don't. And even Brandon McLeod, who's been an outstanding slot receiver here in previous years, has really come on and accepted the fact that he's going to have to play a little bit of both to make sure that we have some depth. And I think that you speak to it. That's exactly right. If you look at our first 2 weeks offensively, it's hard to game plan and say, if we stop at this one guy, it's done. It's over for the Bears. But so we're excited about that. But I think it also goes back to that offensive line really understands what we're trying to accomplish. There's a few things we want to get cleaned up in pass protection, but in terms of the run game the first 2 weeks, it's been a solid effort.
Yeah, absolutely. The offensive line has been really great over the first 2 weeks. And then has there been anything major that surprised you over the first 2 weeks?
I think that just, when you're new to a team and, how does your team respond on game day when you get up by 2, 3, 4 scores? Can they keep the gas pedal on? Can they keep up the effort and the intensity. And that's been the big surprise for me these first 2 weeks. I've coached a few different stops in my career where, sometimes you could get lackadaisical in that third and fourth quarter when you're up a little bit. And just, the pleasant surprise has been that they could keep the gas on.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, folks, we're going to step away for a few moments. We will be back with Coach Phipps in a little while as we'll be talking about the upcoming game against Georgetown this Saturday. But in a few minutes, we'll be back here with wide receiver Artise Clark on the UPIKE Coaches Show. Hello, folks, and welcome back to the UPIKE Coaches Show. My name is Michael Pagano. As we are here at Buffalo Wild Wings, I want to thank them. They are a sponsor of UPIKE Athletics for letting us use their facility here in Pikeville. But we are here now with graduate student wide receiver Artise Clark. And Artise, you're coming off 2 games where you're leading the Bears in receiving. How great has that been so far coming into this season?
Yeah, this has been a good feeling. Just helping my team prosper and getting everything we need to get done. It's been good for the team and also myself as well. It's a good feeling, man, when we're doing what we're supposed to do and making the plays we're supposed to be making. It's just an overwhelming feeling.
So you scored 2 touchdowns on Saturday. One of them was kind of a deep ball. I think it was around 25 yards-ish. And then one of them you had to make some moves and make some people miss. How exciting was that to be able to score those 2 touchdowns, your first 2 of the season?
Yeah, it was really exciting. Me and my friend, my teammate Trey, we were supposed to have a handshake. I was just so excited that we didn't even get to do a handshake. I was too excited. That scored and helped my team get ahead of the game and keep playing. So,
you've had a new coaching staff come in this season. What has that been like to transition from one to another for you?
It's been certain ways. It's been challenges, different a lot from where we were last year to now. It's been a process. It's going good, and also it's just an overwhelming feeling as well. Getting to know Phipps and who he is as a personal person on a personal level as a person. So yeah, it's definitely a good feeling from last year to this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about a few goals you set before the season, if any, for both you and the team.
My goals, I really didn't have any individual goals. Just helping my team because, this is my last year, and I'm just trying to leave everything I have for my team and help them win.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, what is the most misunderstood thing you would say that people think about wide receivers? Is there anything that stands out that people are like, oh, this is so easy to do or that's so easy to do? And then, so what would you say for that?
Hardest thing, I would say probably tracking the ball, like, over your shoulder, especially when you have somebody, like, trailing you, playing defense on you. It's kind of hard to track the ball, but also it's repetition. Like, we practice it in practice, so it kind of makes it translate to the game easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, folks, we'll be back here on the UPIKE Coaches Show in just a few minutes. We will have freshman linebacker Jonathan Morton on the show with us. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the UPIKE Coaches Show. My name is Michael Pagano, and we are now joined by Jonathan Deuce Morton. And, Jonathan, the first thing I want to touch on is you had an incredible week last week. You had 8 total tackles, 4 assisted, 4 solo. You had a 90-yard interception return, and you were not only named the Mid-South Conference Defensive Player of the Week, but you were named the NAIA Defensive Player of the Week. And I'm going to throw a few things at you that I don't know if you know or not, but you're the first Defensive Player of the Week in the conference for UPIKE since 2019, the first NAIA National Player of the Week in any facet of the game since 2013, and then the first Defensive Player of the Week in the NAIA for UPIKE since 2011. I believe you're only the second ever. So how does that make you feel, and how great was it last weekend?
It was just a really good game in general. Just, keep them at 0 points. It's just a big deal for us. And, we talked about doing that somewhat during the season. And, to do it the second game was a big deal. And it was really just, my D linemen, the safeties, the corners, everybody just did a really good job. And that's, I was able to have the game I was able to have because of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about the interception a little bit. What's going through your mind as you catch the ball, and what's going through your mind as you're running?
It was a good individual play to get the interception, but just really the blocks, my teammates had was just a really big deal. They made really good blocks and was able to let me get down the field and score. So it was really just a team effort, that play, and I got the field, and just had some really great blocks. The quarterback was coming, and some of the running backs and faster guys came, and they just made some really great blocks.
And then talk about your decision to come to UPIKE. You're just a freshman. You're coming in. There's a new coaching staff. How has this transition been for you coming from high school to college football?
It was weird having a new coaching staff, and so, trying to meet them and trying to get to know them in a short time period. But it was really awesome to meet them, and I think we me and Coach Jiggs got along really well, and being able to meet Coach Phipps, and I think we just got along with him really well, and I just think it's been good because he's very similar to my high school coach, so I just kind of was able to come in and I'm used to the way he coaches and the way he wants people to act and stuff like that, so it was just it was an easy fit for me.
So talk about Coach Jiggets a little bit more. He's obviously in his first year as well, and this linebacking crew has been great. I mean, two of you and Will Thompson both had interceptions on Saturday. So how has that transition been for going to him, and how would you feel as a whole he's been doing for the squad?
He's just a super energetic guy, and I think that helps the whole linebacker group keep the energy up on the defense and just between each other. So having him as a coach, be very energetic, it just helps us keep our energy up in the game and in practice. And, when we're able to keep high energy in practice, we're able to continue that to the game and, make good plays on the field and keep that energy high.
So coming into the season, did you have any goals set for you or the team in general?
I just wanted to really get that starting spot was one of my, biggest things. And so be able to get that, I just knew I had to go out there and play football, and I've been able to do that so far. And it's just been, got along with the guys really well. And so that's probably been the biggest thing is just, getting that camaraderie.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, as a linebacker, is there anything that people kind of misunderstand about the position or maybe thinks easier or harder, or what's something that you think people don't really understand about the position?
So I think as a linebacker, a lot of people don't realize, the pass drops and the coverage you have to do, the aspect of that. So I think that's probably been one of the biggest things is a lot of times in high school you might not have to go into coverage as much and stuff like that. So, in college level, having to get in coverage and dropping a coverage and learning maybe just a different defense too. Because, I ran a 4-2 in high school, and now we're running a 3-4. So it's just just being able to go in there and be smart enough to learn the plays, learn the new calls, and just, kind of just relearn the defense in a different way.
So with that, folks, we're going to step away here on the UPIKE Coaches Show. I want to thank Jonathan for joining us here. And when we come back, we'll have Coach Phipps coming back with us as he'll be talking about their upcoming game against Georgetown. And welcome back to the UPIKE Coaches Show. My name is Michael Pagano. Once again, I am joined by head coach Corey Phipps. And, Coach, Meant to mention it as we were talking in the intro, but talk about Jonathan Morton a little bit. I mean, he was named the NAI Defensive Player of the Week. I was telling him he's the only, what I believe to be the second NAI Defensive Player Week in UPIKE history. Haven't had an NAIA Player of the Week in any facet of the game since 2013. So how exciting is that for you to have a freshman come in and play so well over the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, real exciting. We thought he played just outstanding the first week, and obviously the 90-yard touchdown return didn't hurt his chances of getting that award. But, just the kind of person you want in your program, just a solid human being who, is going to be accountable to his coaches and his teammates and holds himself to just a super high standard academically too. It was like pulling teeth to get him to get out of class early to come over here and do this show today. So that just shows you, he's got a big picture, long-term outlook on what he wants to do with his life and the medical fields. And, I can't be more thankful enough to have that guy here because, quite honestly, you got to give some credit to the last coaching staff. We basically came here and we're coaching somebody else's team, and these guys have bought into what we're doing, but the last staff did an outstanding job recruiting guys like Deuce.
Yeah, so talk about that a little bit. Me and you mentioned it off the air before we got in, but how difficult was that coming in? You're coming in late in the summer. What did that recruiting process look like for you?
The recruiting process was really re-recruiting this roster to make sure they got back here to school and really helped us try to establish what we wanted to do long term. And really, so it was kind of like speed dating, just trying to get these guys to buy into what we wanted to do. And a few guys chose not to come back, and a few guys said this is where we want to be. And then we added probably a half dozen more guys I would say were our recruits. But I've told all these guys they belong to us, and we belong to them. And, I don't want to make it sound like some cheesy 80s song here, but, the reality is that these transitions happen quite a bit. But they don't happen in midsummer after you played spring football. That's the difference. So, I feel really good about who we have here on this roster right now. Obviously, 2-0 start, you can't be too disappointed in that. So, that's kind of how the process went.
So let's move on to this Saturday. You're playing Georgetown, 8th-ranked team in the country, but you're coming off about as good a 2 games as you possibly could be in your first 2 games at UPIKE. So how are you feeling going into Saturday?
Yeah, I feel really good about our chances this Saturday. Bill Cronin, the head coach there, is kind of the gold standard of the Mid-South Football Conference and the NAI. He's the only NAI coach to ever be president of the American Football Coaches Association. He's a Hall of Famer. He, is 200-plus wins in his career. And, it's a bit of a rivalry between UPIKE and Georgetown, not too far down the road, about 3-hour drive for us. So, I think it's just exciting to get into divisional play. You've played some teams from the Appalachian Division of the Mid-South. You've played some, now you've played a team in Weber from the Sun Division. So now it's time to get to, what kind of is the SEC West, kind of murderer's row here of teams that are really competitive and nationally ranked. And I believe right now Georgetown's number 8 in the country. So, but if you look at it, apples to apples, we've played 2 similar opponents and had similar success. So on paper, we feel good about it. But we just don't want our kids to really come into this game too high, too low. We want them to be steady, consistent, and execute the game plan and the basic fundamentals. And, I really believe that this game could be a low-scoring affair, and I do believe it could be a shootout. But what I really believe is it's 2 equally matched teams that are going to come in, and the team that makes the fewest mistakes, fewest turnovers, can manage some critical situations is going to have a chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk a little bit more about the game plan. Is there anything that you're planning on changing going into Saturday, or are you just basically going to stay with the same that went into the first 2 games?
What's interesting is Georgetown is really run the same systems offensive and defensively for 20-plus years. When they won their last 2 national championships back in, I think it was 2000, 2001, you could pull out the scouting report then. Offensively, they're going to look very similar. Defensively, they're going to look very similar. So, we've got some things that typically over the years we've used when we play Georgetown. So dipping back into that kind of old pool or play bank of offensive systems and defensive systems, we feel like we're going to go back and look at some things and try to use it, this week. But, there are some definite tendencies that we've got to take advantage of. And, make sure we capitalize on some field position situations that when they come out in certain coverages and certain offensive sets. So, without giving away too much, I feel like there's a pretty distinct game plan offensively, which is always run the football, play fast, take shots. Defensively, it's be multiple, get some pressure on the quarterback, and don't give up the big play.
Then lastly, let's touch on the linebackers a little bit. They're here with us today. They had a great game on Saturday. I know we touched on the defense a little bit earlier, but you had 2 linebackers with interceptions. How great have they been over the first 2 games?
Oh, big time. Our 3-4 defense, we try to get those guys the pressure to passer. I'm going to be honest, I'm looking back here right now, and I think they've eaten more than the offensive line ate last week. So I think Deuce is leading the way with about his 5th plate of boneless wings over there. But I think these guys are really the heart and soul of our defense right now. Our D-line, not taking anything away from them, our defensive backs. But when you're a 3-4 scheme, you're going to ask those guys to be a little bit of a pass rush guy, almost like a defensive end, and you got to drop in coverage. And obviously, Coach Elliott did a good job of scheming them up last week and dropping some guys and getting them in those passing windows. So, once again, just a great group of guys who are really a joy to coach.
So thank you, Coach, for joining us.
Yes,
I want to
sir.
thank you, and I want to thank Jonathan Deuce Morton as well as Artis Clark. And I also want to once again thank Buffalo Wild Wings, the sponsor of UPIKE Athletics, for letting us use their facility. And with that, we will be back next week on the UPIKE Coaches Show. But as we mentioned, be sure to check out UPIKE as they take on Georgetown on Saturday afternoon.